This is NICU Babies Parent Support with Catherine Whitaker, a podcast from Hand to Hold, a national nonprofit that provides free personalized support, resources, and community before, during, and after a NICU stay. My conversations here will focus on education and personal stories with medical and hospital professionals, counselors, therapists, and NICU moms and dads from across the country. Whether you're preparing for a NICU stay, you're currently there, or you're months and years past your stay, you belong here. The NICU is hard. We're here to help. I'm your host, Catherine Whitaker, the mom of 6 children, including my very own NICU baby, and I'm so honored you're here. Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm always so grateful that you join me to have really great discussions about how we can help our babies thrive and grow while they're in the NICU and certainly once they leave the NICU. You know, one of the things that continues to come up is how we feed our babies. I know we've talked to a nutritionist, we've talked to occupational therapy when they do feeding therapy, and we've talked about all sorts of ways in which we nourish our children nutritionally. But the one thing that we hadn't talked about was donor milk. And I felt like that was an appropriate topic, particularly as we're in the month of August and everyone's talking about World Breastfeeding Day and Breastfeeding Awareness Week. And I wanted to talk to someone who had experienced breastfeeding, but perhaps in a different way. So some of you may have heard of donor milk, that there are women who have extra milk. They sometimes exclusively pump for their own children, or they nurse their babies and they have extra milk. And instead of throwing that liquid gold down the drain, they instead choose to donate it to milk banks around North America. And Austin has an excellent one, but I wanted to talk to someone that had been the direct beneficiary of donor milk, and I found her. She actually lives not too far away from me. I have been friends with her for a while, certainly before she gave birth to her micropreemie, but she has a beautiful story, and I know that you're going to love hearing about her experience with donor milk, how it helped her child, and how it could possibly help your NICU baby. Today's guest is Veronica Cogwin. She is the mom of 5 children, including her micropreemie, Victoria, who was born at 24 weeks. Veronica is a strong advocate of donor milk after it played a major role in helping her daughter grow and thrive in the NICU. She is a graduate of Texas A&M University and a former member of the board of directors of the Mother's Milk Bank of Austin. And with that, let's chat. Veronica, thank you for being here. You're someone that I have known for a long time. When I had my own preemie and then you had your preemie, I remember we definitely had this walk together, and you're the mom of 5 I just mentioned, and we were walking in the neighborhood and you said, hey, by the way, I'm pregnant with my 5th baby. But I remember you thinking you're like, I mean, I've done this before. It's no big deal. And then you started into your pregnancy. You were a few weeks in and things started to maybe not be so normal, not be so typical. So what happened with Victoria?
So everything was very different from the beginning with her. I didn't know exactly what was going on. And I kept thinking that I was miscarrying just because I ended up bleeding through most of the pregnancy. Come to find out, whenever we delivered her, I had a blood clot behind my placenta. So when I went into the maternal fetal medicine doctor, he was able to see the clots around my placenta, but not behind it, obviously. So it was just rocky from the beginning.
So when she was born, she was a teeny tiny little baby. How many weeks?
She was born at 24 weeks and 6 days. She weighed 1 pound, 3 ounces and was 11 inches long, which was quite different from the other 5, which we had to induce because they were so large. So they always came a week early, and our oldest, he was a week late. So I was just used to full-term babies, and this was my first time to ever see a person that small.
Yeah. And I remember she was tiny. I mean, as we celebrate breastfeeding awareness, as that starts to become something that people start talking about, I mean, you were no stranger to breastfeeding. You had breastfed all of your children for varying amounts of time. But I mean, what did that look like with Victoria? Possible, not possible? What did y'all do?
Totally impossible. So what ended up happening is I was diagnosed right when I was about to start weaning my 2nd child with a chronic illness, and I had to be on medicine for it. So I had to stop breastfeeding her cold turkey and go on this medicine because I needed to take care of myself. So the plan going forward with my doctor was, the next time that you get pregnant, you'll just have to take yourself off of the medicine, and then just see how long you can go without your symptoms coming back. Once they do, you'll probably have to give your baby's formula, which was completely foreign to me. But I was able to do that with babies 2, 3, and 4, no problem. Some a little bit longer than others, but with Victoria, because she came so quickly, I did not have that opportunity to go ahead and take myself off the medicine and just give my body some time to just get all of that out before having her, because the medicine would harm the baby, obviously.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, so I was not able to breastfeed her at all.
So when did donor milk become something that was on the table as an option? Was that something that y'all talked about? I know that you were, for a little bit of time, you were in the hospital before you delivered her. Was that something that y'all talked about, or was that something that happened later?
I think it happened later. It was, we were still holding out. She was born on June 13th and her due date was September 27th. So this was completely unexpected that she would come so early. So I had known about the milk bank when we had our oldest. He was born at the Cleveland Clinic, and I somehow accrued 100 ounces of breast milk in my freezer. And at that time, the milk bank there at the clinic did not accept. I think they needed like a minimum of 200 ounces. And so they're just like, well, you can go ahead and possibly ship it down. You need a bunch of dry ice and do all this screening in order to send it down to Austin, because they were accepting 100 ounces at the time. And it just seemed like such a headache, which, going back now, I wish that I would have been able to do that. But anyway, so I used it up with him with his cereal and stuff. But coming down here, I mean, I had that awareness of the milk bank. And I knew how that was just like liquid gold, right? So you didn't want that to go to waste at all in your freezer.
Right.
So whenever she was born, she was born at 11:52 p.m. and I was whisked away and I didn't get to meet her until the next morning. So I'm sure that there must have been a conversation. And I had asked my husband about this, if he had known, like, did they ask for his consent? And honestly, I don't remember that at all, because it was just a whirlwind.
Sure.
And he thinks that they probably did, but you need it's a prescription that was needed for this baby, because babies of that tender gestational age, they cannot digest, or they should not be digesting formula, because, as you know, it can cause a condition called necrotizing enterocolitis, which is basically gangrene of the gut, right? So I would not have objected at all if they would have asked me if I would have remembered, but I'm sure Jack was just like, yeah, go ahead and give her whatever she needs. So there was a tiny little syringe, like maybe 1 or 2 cc's at her bedside when I remember meeting her the next morning. So I think that was the only route. And they obviously knew that that was going to be the best thing for her, or else they wouldn't have offered it.
Yeah. So for those who are new to the podcast and maybe don't know what necrotizing enterocolitis is, it's typically in babies who are either born micropreemies or have very underdeveloped guts. Our babies are super sensitive, and it's a disease that they don't know really what causes it, although they do think that formula may be a contributing factor. There are lots of hypotheses as to what it could be, but it's certainly something. And once it comes to one baby in a NICU, it tends to spread, but they don't really know how. And so I'm sure that as your doctors were thinking about Victoria and what they were going to do with her, that was certainly present of mind. The reason I say that is because my baby did get neck, and I wish that donor milk had been something that we knew about. I mean, we were born in Austin, but certainly not something that really came to the forefront. So, I mean, obviously you became a big advocate of donor milk after Victoria used it. So how long was she on donor milk? Veronica, were you ever able to nurse her? What would that process look like for y'all?
Right. I was not able to ever nurse her because I didn't have a chance to let the medicine, fully exit my system. So by the time that she would have needed it, it was just, we've got these stages, right? Whenever our bodies are able to produce milk and everything. And I'd kind of passed that already. So I think around 32 to 34 weeks. I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but I think for her, when she was 32 to 34 weeks, gestational age. So she was still in the NICU. She didn't come home until around 41 weeks. So I think around that time was when they started to introduce the formula. And I could tell a difference. It just wasn't exactly the same. But she was able to get what she needed at that time, because what's so cool about the milk bank is that they're able to almost give your baby the cocktail that they need. So she was very underweight, and it took her a while to get to the feeder and grower unit because she was just so tiny. And so they were able to give her, I can't remember how many calories, but let's just say if standard is like 22, they gave her 24, 26. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they were able to give her a higher calorie content, which honestly, I don't know if I would have been able to produce that, because they are able to mix up everything at the milk bank there and just give her exactly what she needed. So she benefited from that tremendously. And again, I don't think I would have been able to produce exactly what she would have needed at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I think as I'm thinking about, I think, yeah, breast milk's about 20, 21 calories. So when you're trying to boost, your baby's weight, you either increase your feeds or you increase what they're taking in. And so I always used to think, I wonder what it's like to be like a milk bank cocktail. Like you're back there, like like Tom Cruise, back
Right.
there trying to mix it all together. This podcast is produced by Hand to Hold, a national nonprofit, but we're more than simply a podcast. Be sure to download our app, join one of our support groups, or find one-to-one support, enjoy counseling, find loss and bereavement support, participate in a peer-to-peer mentor program, or check out our news, articles, and family stories at handtohold.org. All of that is at no cost to you. Hand to Hold's mission is to provide personalized support before, during, and after a NICU stay to help ensure that all NICU families thrive. How is she doing now? I mean, she is growing and thriving. I know that she's in second grade. So sort of where is she now, and what, I guess, role do you think that donor milk played in her developing into the kid that she is today?
Yeah, she's doing fantastic. She is a little firecracker. Like you said, she's about to turn 9 in June, and that's just kind of hard to believe. But she is very strong-willed and just full of energy. We did a lot of, in the beginning, lots of PT, OT, and speech. She continues to do some speech therapy, but it's just articulation, so no big deal. But everything gut-wise seems to be great. So I attribute a lot of that to the milk bank. We haven't had any GI issues with her. She did have a little bit of acid reflux when she was in the NICU and had some apnea due to that. But other than that, I mean, she's just been doing awesome. So she's petite, but so am I. So I don't think she has a lot of a lot going for her in that department. But I mean, she's thriving. She's doing awesome.
No, that's not usually the story that we hear from 24-weekers, certainly from
Right.
preemies that they roll through the NICU. And while she absolutely had intervention, which I think most babies leaving the NICU have some sort of intervention, but I mean, I look at her when I see her every week and think that kid is a walking miracle. I don't know how she did it, but what a testament to all the interventions that they do. So, Veronica, walk us through a little bit of your role within the milk bank. I know obviously your introduction in Cleveland and then your real experience with her in the NICU probably gave you a vastly different perspective on donor milk than what you had had before. So how did that perspective shift? And then what did that perspective lead to as you started getting involved with the milk bank?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, like I said, it almost seemed like a hassle to go ahead and ship the milk to Austin from Cleveland. I wish that I would have done that, but knowing what I know now and how precious that is, but everything happens for a reason. So I guess that wasn't supposed to be my main introduction to the milk bank, and I got thrown into it. And it's just an amazing organization, very well run. Having served on the board of directors, I know for a fact what all goes on behind the scenes, and I've been in the lab and I've seen how all of that works, and it truly is incredible. They opened several depots here within Texas, and so I believe that there's some in Houston and like Cypress area, maybe in Katy, and throughout the state. So they will take milk, and now I don't know. Don't quote me on this, but I don't know if there's a minimum, which was kind of what deterred me in the beginning. I was just like, okay, do I need I wanted to do something with it because I knew the benefit of it. And when I was at the Cleveland Clinic with our oldest John, they had a lactation consultant just at the Cleveland Clinic. She just was available to teach moms how to get the proper latch and for their babies. And then you would weigh them before feeding them, and then you'd weigh them after, because you obviously don't know how much you're giving them. unless you're expressing into a bottle, right? So that was that was my intro to, okay, this is really, really important. And now on the other side, I can see how much it has benefited my child personally, and then just tons of other children too.
Yeah, I mean, I remember with Luke, I pumped so much milk that it took 4 nurses to carry. He was not able to eat by mouth for a while, and so the nurses were like, "Wow, you have a lot of milk." And I remember thinking at the time that I was going to donate it to the milk bank, and then it ended up that he ended up needing it. His gut needed that for a longer period of time. But I remember that there were several moms as I would sit in the NICU, and they were receiving donor milk, and I just remember thinking, "Man, what a gift people are giving." A lot of moms have extra milk floating around and freezers full. And you're right, like throwing it out almost feels criminal. Like, don't throw that stuff out. It can help. I mean, in Victoria's case, it certainly helped her grow and thrive, but it may have helped her eliminate a path that you guys, I can attest, would not have wanted to go down, um, with gangrene of the gut and neck and all those other things. So, what a gift for that. So, Veronica, I know that there may be some moms out there, maybe talk to us a little bit about the screening part, because I think there may be some moms who either maybe want to donate or they want to be the beneficiary of that, but maybe they're a little unsure. Like, what would you, how can you sort of walk them through, like, these are the things that they test for, these are the things that they look for to make sure that what they're giving your baby isn't going to do more harm, but only good for them?
Right, definitely. I know there's definitely there's a screening process. And so anybody who wants to donate, like for example, here in Austin, you just pick up the phone and you call the milk bank. I think you can even do it online now. I'd have to look at that. But there are just a series of questions. And then obviously some medications that you could be on, like I was on, you cannot donate breast milk if you're on, and it's probably got a list of them
Sure.
there. And it's quite simple. They make it very, very easy for people to be able to donate who are qualified to donate. So I would not hesitate at all if you are able to donate any breast milk. It's almost as valuable as blood, right? Like giving blood, giving milk, like it truly does save lives.
Well, that was a good. I mean, I think that we sometimes worry that what we give, like, is it good enough? I think moms are always concerned, like, is what I'm doing enough? And it's good to know that there are. I mean, I think I looked on their website. We'll make sure that we link it in the show notes. But milk banks go through accreditation like many other agencies, and so I think they're one of 30, like in North America, that are fully accredited. They have an amazing website. Your story is actually on the website. When I went on there to look at a few things, I was like, oh, hey, I know her. So it was great to see that they also share some stories, like real people who have really benefited from the work that they do and the things that people donate. It's not like just writing a check. We know that money helps, but giving of that, I mean, tangibly saved Victoria's life. I think it's a beautiful story as to how you did that. So I always ask this of all my guests, what their best advice is. Veronica, if there is a mom out there who is has a baby in the NICU and they are, I guess, a candidate for donor milk, but they are unsure or maybe unwilling to maybe see that as an option, what would you say to that mom who's feeling a little trepidatious about accepting that help?
I would say do your research. You will see that donor milk is incredibly valuable. It's life-changing. You will read stories about that. And you can even go to milkbank.org, which is the website for the Austin Milk Bank, which is almost a benchmark. Like, we do things so well. There are other milk banks that consult with us on how we do things. So I would go and check with that, and then just ask if you can, maybe get the email address of somebody who has used, like, just as a reference, like, what was your story? How did it help you? How long was your baby on this? Did you notice, like any of those questions? I think Hand-to-Hold does a really good job of getting that mentor program, which definitely did help us in the NICU as well. And you were one of my mentors, and Luke was able to be my therapist as I drove him to preschool and then went to the NICU to visit Victoria. So I would definitely see if you can ask to be linked with a mentor and see if that would be a good fit. I don't see any negatives to donating breast milk, just only positives. So I would say just do your research and just see if you can get synced up with someone.
That's good advice, Veronica. Thank you for everything that you shared and certainly for the success story of Victoria. It's so inspiring for parents to hear that. Isn't that cool? I don't know that I knew that donor milk existed when Luke was first born, or certainly when we found ourselves in the NICU in those first few days. I wanted to share Victoria and Veronica's story. I think it is a testament to how modern technology can help our babies grow and thrive, and sometimes in a situation that we're not sure if they're going to be able to do. So in today's 2-minute take, there were a couple of things that Veronica said that I just want to say again, because I think that they can be a real encouragement to you. One is that if you think that you may be in the NICU and you are either unable or you can't breastfeed your baby, or you're choosing not to, but your baby needs breast milk and they need something that's going to be easier on their gut, either because of their age or because of their weight, I love that donor milk is a possibility. So asking your neonatologist, maybe starting to have that conversation with your OB-GYN, are there milk banks that serve the hospital where you're going to be delivering? Those are all great questions for you to consider. And I really was grateful that Veronica shared her story about her introduction to the milk bank when she was in Cleveland, and then her real life experience when she was here in Austin, and what that looked like. Some of the things that maybe she was concerned about or she wasn't sure about, and then she got here and it was a real option for her. And I love that we have that opportunity. Yes, it has to come with a prescription. Yes, that milk is absolutely screened. And in many cases, that milk, the cocktail that we talked about of it being mixed so that the highest calorie content possible that your baby can tolerate is given to them so that they can grow and thrive. But what a world we live in, right? That we have this option to give babies the best that we can give them. And if you personally can't do that, there are other moms who are willing. So I'm actually speaking to 2 moms today. I'm speaking to the moms who are receiving the donor milk. What a gift you have. Make sure you ask the questions, but what a gift that can be to your family and certainly to your baby. And also to the mom who is considering donating her milk. I hope that Veronica's story encourages you. If you have some extra milk floating around in your freezer, if you just have an extra supply. I know that with some of my babies, I had a lot of extra supply. And if I had known that I could have donated that milk, I wish I could go back in time and do it. So may this be your encouragement that if you are a mom who's in a position that can donate her milk, please do it, because you might be saving the life of a baby like Victoria. And with that, I will see y'all next time. Thanks, y'all, for listening to NICU Babies Parent Support. Every parent and every experience is welcome here. If you are a NICU parent and you're finding yourself in need of support, please download our app. You can find it in the Apple Store or on Google Play, Hand to Hold. And if you love today's episode, you can share it, you can subscribe, and you can most certainly review it. We would love, love, love your reviews. It's how we reach more NICU parents. Thanks, and I'll see y'all next time.